IB Nation, Notre Dame fans, welcome back to another edition of the Irish Breakdown podcast brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Believe Network. And we are joined today by the newest member of the Believe family. That is David Pollack, a former two-time All-American at Georgia, I believe, correct? Want to make sure I put some respect on that. Three-time All-American at Georgia. I think Outland or Lombardi, right? You got the Outland, right? Got the Outland trophy.
You're 0 for 2, Lombardi.
0 for 2, Lombardi. Dang it. See, these trophies are so messed up. It's like O lineman, interior lineman with
Man,
B
don't
lineman.
nobody care about those stupid trophies anyway. I love the intro. I love the intro to the podcast. It made me think of like Dre, like next episode.
So, well, you know what's funny is I had a guy make that music for me, and he goes, well, what are you looking for? I said, I want a combination of Rush Limbaugh's intro music and Dre. And so that's what he made for me. So
I felt it. I felt it.
Yeah. So we come correct with it. But we're here to talk some Notre Dame football with David Pollack. And, it's to kick things off, David, I want to talk with you a little bit about the evolution of Notre Dame program through your eyes. And if we kind of went back and talked about things that you've observed with the Notre Dame program, back 2012, 15, 18, as they've kind of come along in the Brian Kelly era. And then you look at kind of how you've talked about them really going back to late last season. I want to get your thoughts on where you've seen this program evolve and why you went from being someone who said, I don't think they can compete with these SEC teams, to where last year in December, you're talking about like, I think this team could win it all. They were close, didn't quite get there.
Yep.
When you look at this program, David, what's changed when you look at this team? What's different on film now and in the program now from where it was, a decade ago?
Physicality, toughness, just that you can see it, man. Like it's on a different level. The strain is on a different level. Like these are, but listen, I know recruiting is picking up as well. Like recruiting is definitely on the rise too, but it's just a different. You've always had guys that were in the trenches that were pretty good, but like now I see a bunch of guys flying all over the field that play with an edge, that play with some toughness. And I think it comes from Marcus Freeman. Like, I think Marcus he's an absolute stud. I had him on our podcast not too long ago just because the human being is just hard not to love. Like, he's just such a good dude, and he's got a good heart. But he's made of all the right stuff, man. Like a defensive-minded linebacker, like just grimy, dirty. Like that's just what we are, right? Like that's why I love it, because that's what I played. So I just think there's a different level of toughness, along with belief, along with recruiting going up, that it's just this program's in a different spot than I've seen it since I've been covering it.
It is funny when you talk about the Marcus Freeman aspect, because I've told people, I was like, you meet Marcus Freeman, you talk to him, he's a very nice guy, polite guy, smart guy, family guy. Strong faith and all that. I said, but this is a former Big Ten middle linebacker, y'all. Like, this is still a guy, you get him on the football field, you see a little different side of him. And to your point, this team plays with it. I'm sure you've been on a practice field that Mike Denbrock's been on. That guy coaches with an edge too. And Al Golden was certainly that way as well. And so you see those type of things. Like, David, when I remember back the 2012 game against Alabama, and Notre Dame's got Stephon Tuitt, and you look, okay, Stephon Tuitt, he matches up with everybody else. Lewis Nix, okay, and then it stopped. I mean, just physically, you talk about how that team against that Bama team, and just physically couldn't stand, couldn't hold up against that team. And now you look at them now, the length, the talent, you do see something different. I think another thing that's changed, and I want to get your thoughts on this, is 10 years ago, I brought this up earlier this summer. When's the last time we went into a season where we're saying Notre Dame might have the best corner and running back in all of college football? Like, where this team can run with people. Where they'd have a Jalen Smith and a Will Fuller, but again, it would always stop. I like, here's what I said about Bama in 2012. You take Notre Dame's 5 best players, they can hold up with Alabama's. We're talking Stephon Tuitt, Lewis Nix, Manti, Zach Martin, and Tyler Eifert. But then 8 through 30 mismatch. 6 through 30 mismatch. That's what's different now. But when you watch them against Georgia,
so I remember that against. So I was there, and I remember that against Alabama. And I remember talking to one of the Alabama offensive linemen after the game. And I'm not going to mention his name, but everybody knew who he was. He was big time. He won a bunch of awards. And I was like, man, like, y'all just took them apart. Like, what did you see when you were on film? He was like, when we watched them on tape, we saw Mississippi State. So, like, that gives you an idea of where it's at.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. Georgia ain't saying that bull crap after last year because they physically got in that ace, right? Like, so I think it's just yes, you're absolutely right. It's the depth of it. The linemen were always, offensive linemen were always good. Like, they were always big and strong, and tight ends have always been good. Now, I think the difference last year and the biggest thing I'm curious to see this year, the competitive spirit of Riley Leonard and the athletic ability was pretty unmatched, bro. Like that guy, he's a dude now. Like I'm drafting that sucker, like first off the bus. Like just to go, if I'm going to play any sport, he's one of my first picks just because of this, and I just believe in him. I trust him, and that was what was best about Notre Dame was the ground game. You know, being able to use him, short yardage, good freaking luck. Give it to him every single time, and it was going to be successful. So, you know, the pieces are better. The secondary, and more importantly, Chris Ash coming in, because I think Al Golden, I thought Al Golden, you already mentioned the OC. I thought Al, with Al Golden paired together, I thought him and Denbrock were the best in the country a year ago. And now you lose that, which that's a big deal. Now, Chris Ash, similar path, like coached in the NFL, was an unsuccessful college coach, like has a lot of experiences, a bunch of different conferences, like been kind of all over the place. But that's a couple question marks that I'll say, though, moving forward is, do you place Riley Leonard, his competitive spirit, his toughness, and physicality, because that dude was physical and his makeup was really, really good. And then on the defensive side of the football, and here's the thing, it ain't like you got time to figure this out. Mm-hmm. Like, right. Your first two games might be the hardest games of the season, like on the whole schedule. Now, thank God you got a bye week in between them, but like you're going to have to come out the gate, know who you are at that spot. And that quarterback spot obviously is going to be a big part in determining how good Notre Dame can be.
It is interesting looking at the supporting cast, because last year you go into the season, you got 6 returning career starts in the offensive line. You got a true freshman at left tackle. You've got a receiving core made up of sophomores and transfers. We knew that Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price were talented, but they were unproven players. Now all those guys are back. You bring in Malachi Fields, you bring in Will Pauling, and now you say, okay, now you don't maybe need the quarterback to carry that way, but then that puts a lot of pressure on the rest of that group, and then of course you've got a defense that's making the adjustment. So it's interesting. It's a different dynamic around the quarterback this year. But at the end of the day, to win a championship, you need your quarterback to deal. I mean, Will Howard's not a first round talent, but you look at him in the playoffs. I mean, it's where's the ball need to go? I'm going to get it there, and I'm going to make those big throws and get it to the playmakers.
But what was difficult to defend about Will Howard? Will Howard was difficult because Will Howard, he was experienced. He was big, he's strong. So the problem with Will Howard is he could complete those passes that would move the sticks. But third and short, goal line situations, he could also run the football, break tackles, and be a problem. So, you know, Jeremiah Love is great. And I got a bunch of flack, by the way, for that, too, because I said it was the best running back room in America versus Penn State. Penn State fans were not happy with me, but it's the truth. He's a freak. He's elite. But Riley Leonard's legs took a lot of pressure off of him and allowed him not to have to do as much. Now, Price obviously being able to spell him, different brand too, because yards after contact, just physicality, toughness. And then Williams in the backfield, by the way, golly, like another one that just comes in, it just keeps coming and keeps getting, you know, you don't lose anything, which is really good. But that's where I'll say you still got some question marks to answer, because who's it going to be? Is it going to be Carr? Is it going to be Minchie? Like which one is it going to be? Like and the styles are going to be dramatically different, and you can't convince me that we're not going to see both. Like I think we're going to see both. I don't know, y'all know better than I do because of practice and stuff like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did.
Well, I mean, look, David, if you look at Notre Dame's history, even if they don't want to have a 2 quarterbacks play, they've needed it. I mean, Dane Chris gets hurt in 2011. You bench him in 2010. He gets benched in 2011. 2012, you've got Ever Golson. He gets hurt against Stanford. You need Tommy against BYU. You know, you go through the years. Tommy gets hurt against USC in 2013. They don't have a good backup, and they can't move the ball in the second half. Unfortunately, Stephon Tuitt just lit USC up in that second half, and they couldn't score either. But you can think, hey, we just want one guy, but you're going to need, in a 16-game season, you're going to need a guy. I mean, look like Riley last year getting dinged up against Penn State. Probably should have pulled him at some point in time against Northwestern because he got injured on that first drive. But I could see that. I think the question is going to be, if Kenny doesn't win the job, do you take carries away from Jeremiah and Jadarian to get a package for him?
Or does
he that kind of runner?
Or does that make those guys better? Because again,
potentially, right.
Just remember what you get with the quarterback run game. Like with the quarterback run game, you get another guy blocking. Like instead of the quarterback handing it off, now he's carrying the football. So now you've got an extra blocker on the field, which is a big time advantage for you. So I think that with coupled with Love, made him so dangerous. It's what helped him clear holes, especially early in the season, man. Like, it ain't like this passing attack was any good. The running game wasn't elite, but down the stretch now, Riley Love started clicking. Greathouse clicks down the stretch in the playoffs and looks like an absolute stud. And so it continued to grow and morph. I just think you don't have that luxury this year. Like, out the gates, you're going to have to be really, really good. The easiest thing to me is when you have a running quarterback, I can teach you the mechanisms, and I can teach you the plays, and I can bring you along slowly in the passing game. But I can use what you do best. I can use your feet. I can still help the offense and move it. So that's where I say it's interesting, unless cars lighten it up, which I haven't heard that. That's not what I've heard. I've heard, both sides have been doing pretty well. Like, what's the quarterback play look like? Because if it's going to be close, you get a big time advantage when you add wheels into the equation and when you don't.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let's say in this scenario, let's say CJ Carr wins a starting job, and they're going to say, look, we're going to have to have a package for Kenny Minchie, because it's one of those things. Every other position, when you're deeper than your starting lineup, you say, hey, we got to figure out a way to get that guy onto the field. As a defensive player, how do you view the quarterback run game when they're bringing a guy in to just do that? Sort of like we saw Tyler Buckner in 2021, when you kind of know, hey, this is what we're going to do. Does it change it, or is it similar to like, okay, 3rd and 1, that Riley's going to run the ball? The question is, can you stop it or not? As a defensive player, what does that mean when the guy's being brought in and you kind of know this is what they're going to do?
Well, first of all, that means you have to prepare for 2 guys, which means I have to prepare for 2 different systems, which means I have to learn a lot more and expand a lot more with what I want to do, what I want to put in, which makes me think more, which is a good thing. You want people thinking on defense. The more you make us guys think on defense, the better it ends up for you, I promise. So I think it gives that element. But here's the thing. You've got to be successful at whatever that is. Does anybody doubt Notre Dame's going to have a big physical offensive line? Like, every year, check. Like, that's going to happen. So I think now it becomes who, and Marcus is going to say this, and he said this with me. Who's the one who's not making mistakes? Like, not putting us in a bind, not putting us in a bad position. I think you feel pretty dang good about defensively, what you are, who you are. The way you were able last year to sustain injuries of your best players and just continue to mow on, like, it was incredibly impressive. And it's not like you don't have Drake in there running around that's going to be tackling people all over the field. It's not like you don't have great secondary play. Like, you're right, having a great corner, one of the best corners in the country that can shut down half the field. And I love, by the way, that he wasn't a 5-star, like just kind of a 3-star guy that wasn't highly recruited. But look what we found. Like, we got a gem. And does the style of defense continue to play with just straight man-to-man most of the time, and you're getting away with that? And so does that look different now when you bring in Devontae Smith from Alabama in the slot? And can you still do that? Because Clark was really good at that a year ago. So you're finding out all these things about your team. And here's the thing. How many points do I need to score, right? Like, is my defense really, really elite? Can they hold down Miami? Like, these are all questions that I'm learning on the fly, but I don't get to open up with a team down the stretch that I would like to open up with. I don't get to open up with a Marshall and an FIU or somebody like that we
don't talk about Marshall around here, David. We don't like those home runners against Marshall. We don't talk about
NIU. Oh wait,
exactly.
We don't talk about.
Those are curse words on our show, David, and we don't use curse words on our show.
hey, look at what happened with NIU, and you go to the college football playoff and try to win the championship. So I think that will be predicated on what your team is. That's what I would say.
I want to say one thing. Trev's going to ask you here a question in a second, but
you're going to let Trevor talk? Good Lord.
Yeah. Every now and then, I let him get a word in every now and then.
Sometimes,
but I like to dominate. You mentioned the NIU loss, and that's, I say, you talk about things you get right, things you get wrong. That's something I got absolutely wrong. In that I really felt when they went to 12-team playoff, I was like, this is going to hurt the value of the regular season. And I was completely wrong about it, because a team can lose a game like that, and you still are judged on kind of who you are by the end of the year. I think to the 2016 USC team, 0 chance to make a 14 playoff because they started 1-3. By the end of November, nobody wanted a part of that 2016 USC team. And that's something that I think brings a lot of value. And I think that also can factor in 2 decisions with personnel, because, hey, if it is close, do you say, okay, this guy maybe helps us win now, but we think this guy can maybe help us win in November and December? Do you take that chance in November? Whereas in 2018, Notre Dame was like, we need Brandon Wimbush to beat Michigan. After that, we'll see how things go, because you couldn't afford to lose a game in September if you were Notre Dame.
Here's why I say, Brian, you can't take that chance, because what else is really left on the schedule after the first 2 games that's going to be something that people are going to go, yeah, love that. Like, I mean, Navy's not doing that for people. Like, NC State's not doing that for people. Boise's going to be straight. Like, Boise's a good one, but like, there's not a lot on the schedule down the stretch with Pittsburgh and Syracuse, and there's just not a lot of stretch down the stretch that I'm going to go, man, that's good. I believe in Notre Dame now. Like, ending with Stanford, is that going to blow anybody's socks off? Absolutely not. So I don't think
they're going to be rough.
I do think, early in the season, I think those games are pivotal because that is perception, and that will matter. Now, listen, you rattle off, 10 straight or whatever. You don't have a conference championship. How does that match up? Like, there's just a lot of things that go in. You got to win one of those 2 games. Like, win one of those 2 games, and I think Notre Dame's in pretty good shape.
Because 11-1, they're in. The only question now is where they seated. Trev, I know you had a question that you wanted to follow up with, too, back to when we were looking at last year.
Yeah, it's the setup of the schedule is very similar. Last year, you kind of had your big marquee game against Texas A&M to kick off the season. And then behind that, you had Stanford, you had Navy, you had Army, you had a USC team that didn't live up to expectations, and then a Florida State team that Lord only knows what happened to them down the stretch. One of the crazier things that we've seen in college football. But when you go back to last year, we were talking before the show started, you said that you were extremely high on Notre Dame early. What was that point for you where you kind of looked at this team and said, hey, I think that they could do something this year?
I think it's when I started to see Riley Green and this offense understand exactly who they were. Like, I just remember starting to watch, a couple things too. Watching Freeman coach and the fake punts and like the going for it, like just the marbles, right? Like, I loved watching him grow as a coach, and you could just tell, like, and if it didn't work, it didn't work. So be it. Who cares? But I think Riley understanding, like, okay, we're not throwing this ball all over the yard, but I got to be efficient. I got to get the ball out quick. I got to throw it. If not, I'm going to take off and scramble. And I think you started to see that, middle of the season, towards the end of the season. Again, I don't always look at the most talented teams. Like, I want to know the teams that have an identity, and they know who they are. They know how they're going to beat you. They know, most importantly, what they aren't. And they weren't – in the beginning of the season, I saw drop back passes for Riley Leonard. That ain't who he is. That's not who he should have been. End of the season, I didn't see that crap all the time. I saw a coach in Denbrock, and that's why he's one of the better OCs in the country. Like, taking the guy he has – it ain't pretty. It don't have to be pretty. I don't need it to be pretty. Like, all I need is that run that you had last year. Like, nobody cares about how pretty it is. Like, nobody cares about that NIU game now. Nobody gives a rip because you beat Georgia at the end of the season. Like, you beat Penn State at the end of the season, right? Like, you get to play for a national championship. So I think, understanding who you are and be willing to do it throughout the year and evolve and not worry about the sexiness of it.
When you look at this Notre Dame team in 2025, obviously there's projection with everybody. Where do you see this team kind of stacking up as you enter into the season? Like, do you have them in that top echelon with a lot of the perceived teams, the Texases, the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Penn States? Do you think that there's still work to do? Where do you see them as far as, if you were like to create like tiers of teams, how do you view this team coming into the season?
Well, the interesting thing you say about that is, like, Texas obviously breaking in a new starter at quarterback, so there's some indecision. So does that cause for pause? So Notre Dame, same thing, right? Does it work for Notre Dame? Well, okay, there's question mark at quarterback. Do I feel the same way? Like, Texas's roster to me is in a better spot. Like, Texas takes a back seat to just about no one, I don't think, in the country. I don't think anybody. Like, if you're going through their defense and you go, who's the best edge player in the country? I got a debate. Who's the best linebacker in the country? I got a debate. Who's the best safety in the country? I got a debate. Like, Texas's defensive personnel is really, really good, man. Like, really good. Their system is the same. Everybody's back. They're not breaking in a new DC. They're not breaking in a new quarterback. Like, there's less things that I'm worried about. Like, some of the traditional, like Georgia. Like, obviously Notre Dame beat Georgia a year ago. I'm very confident with Georgia not changing much of who they are, adding a bunch of pieces. Like, I feel very confident saying they're going to be better this season. Alabama, I feel very confident saying they're going to be better this season. Like, Notre Dame, I want to see them develop with their identity. Here's what I know. they're going to be in every single football game because I think their defense is really good. And I could go down the list of guys literally that I could write down, whether it's Drake, whether it's Leonard Moore, whether it's Devontae Smith or Schuler, like whoever it is. Like, you got ballers, you got playmakers. Like, I'm very confident on that side of the football. I think without the quarterback, because this isn't a team that has the elite weapons out wide historically that makes, like Ohio State, dude, Alabama, like whoever you put in there, they're playing with a stacked deck. Like, it's really fun to play quarterback when you got Jeremiah Smith, who you go like this, air grenade, shoom, all you got to do is throw that puppy up in the air, and there's a good chance he's going to come down with it. Ryan Williams, good chance he's going to come down with it, right? So I think, that's where I would say there's a little bit of separations between some of those teams is the weapons on offense. Love is a weapon. I'm interested to see the breakdown of the carries this year. Does he get more carries? Because I think he should. Like, and Price is a great changeup. But like, this team to me is an even more leaning on your running backs team as opposed to your quarterback being able to run as much as he was a year ago.
Do you think this team can make a run similar to last year if they don't become more balanced? Because look, Kenny Minchie's a good athlete. He's not Riley Leonard. And CJ Carr's a red
people
freshman.
Don't understand. People don't understand it. Like the thing about Riley that always blew me away was he felt holes so well. And then backers who had angles, he quickly erased them and made moves. Like, I don't think people understood how good he was with the foot. He was another running back. Like, and then just the toughness and the real. I'll never forget that image of him puking, like basically running the ball every single play on that first drive in the national championship and just puking on the sidelines, exhausted from the first. I'm like, dude, he might have 40 carries this game. Like, if they're gonna win, he might have to tote that thing a lot.
That's what it started to feel like. Definitely what it started to feel like.
I mean, and you saw it. Now, later in the game, the arm picked up and Great House picked up and playmaking picked up. And that's the thing. If that can, what if losing Leonard and that part elevates 5 completion percentage? Just a little bit better on that side of the football. That would be fantastic. And that opens up some space for Love. That makes it easier for the line. But again, the short yardage, when you have to run it, that will be very interesting.
Yeah, and that's why they went out and got Malachi Fields and Will Pauling to go with Greathouse and Faison, because you got to the point last year when Notre Dame's success throwing the ball was because they had to. They were down 10-3. They couldn't run the ball a whole lot in the first half against Penn State. They're down 31-7 against Ohio State. They weren't able to just come out and establish that against teams. I mean, they tried it against Ohio State, and Riley just took them a while sometimes to get into that rhythm. I think Marcus Freeman knows we can't just keep repeating what we did last year, because you can't assume you're going to have a Riley Leonard every year. And I think that is something that's going to be important. You need Malachi Fields to be everything you think he is. You need Will Pauling to look like the guy that faced against LSU in the bowl game a couple years ago. And you need Greathouse to be like, that wasn't just a
4-game run,
flash in the pan. This is kind of who you are. Not that he's going to go for 6 or 7 and over 100 every game, but like, just this is the kind of guy that's that you got to contend with week after week. And I do think they're going to move him around a lot more this year, not just have it so static where where he's going to be all the time. Trev, I know you had a question you wanted to follow up about with him. I know Dave wants to talk a little defense. I have a feeling he kind of likes talking a little bit of defense.
Never do I mind that.
Yeah. I think he knows a little bit of something or two about defense. Something tells me. But we talked about some of where Notre Dame hasn't quite closed the gap yet on offense, talent on the outside. But when you look at them on defense, you said that you're extremely confident in their abilities they're going to be in every game because of who their defense is, what their makeup is. So when you evaluate the talent overall, what do you see on Notre Dame's defense?
Well, just like last year, led the nation in interceptions. And I see a bunch of guys. I saw a bunch of guys that were extremely, here's why I say that. Here's why I'll say this. That was really hard to do because it's not like they were fooling a bunch of people. Like, they were very good at what they did and they stuck to it. And that's really when you're good enough, like the Seattle Seahawks when they won those championships. Like, everybody knew they were playing cover 3, but the talent was so daggum good, and they were so good at the system that they continued to find ways to be elite and to dominate football games. And I think you saw a dominant unit against the pass. And can you do that again? Like, obviously, listen, it ain't like you don't lose pieces as well. It ain't like I can't pick some guys that you go crap that. But here's the thing: every time last year in the playoffs, when you lose your best defensive lineman, all good, not a big deal. Like, next man up. And here's what I saw about the next man. The next man was tough. The next man fought. maybe not as talented, but they make you earn everything. That's what I love. Like, I love the scrapping, the toughness. Like, I'm going to hit you. And listen, I mentioned the names with Bowman, who's going to tackle everybody, and Moore, who's going to cover everybody, and Schuler, who'll play the back end and play it great. Like, defensively, Chris Ash is at the same system. But as long as the hunger's there, listen, I can't teach people how to compete. Like, the only way I do that is by the way I bring it every single day. Like, is Ash going to be able to get the most out of these guys and maximize their talent? Because they were maximized a year ago. Like, they played their brand, their style. They imposed their style on the SEC University of Georgia team. Like, think about that. Like, end of the game, needed some first downs. Riley Leonard. First down, run out the clock. Like, Freeman, and I always want to say Morgan Freeman. Marcus, obviously. Marcus Freeman, the balls to call what he called down the stretch and not quote-unquote fake punt to draw him off sides. Knew exactly what he was doing, right? Like, how he's going to take that step, continue to mature. The defense, I think the defense is going to be really, really good. Now, is it going to be elite like it was a year ago? That's where Chris Ash has to show me that. Like, the running game, is it going to be elite like it was a year ago? That's where the new quarterback, whoever it is, Carr Minchie, whatever one that is, like, they are going to have to show me, and they're going to have to prove it. Like, but I can tell you the proven things that I know is going to come out of Notre Dame. And the good thing about, if I'm a Notre Dame fan, the provens are a lot more than they used to be, man. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not just one position. It's not just, hey, that we have great tight ends at Notre Dame. Hey, Notre Dame, we put out great offensive linemen. Like, that's what you want to be. You want to be a program like we got the best corner in the country. We got the best running back in the country. Hey, we got the best, one of the best offensive line in the country. A bunch of experience coming back. Hey, don't forget about our D lineman. Hey, we got this linebacker. Hey, we got this safety. Like, that's pretty fun when you start being in the mix for all of that.
So if I'm reading you correctly, here's kind of my takeaway, that Notre Dame has raised their bar from a talent standpoint. But the question you have, and I think this is actually a fair one if I'm reading you correctly, is what Notre Dame has to prove in 2025 is that you can reload the way that Ohio State has proven that they can lose guys. They can lose a Xavier Watts type and just reload. They can lose a Riley Leonard and reload. They can lose a Riley Mills and reload. Because like you said, they played hard, but there was a drop-off. And we saw that against Ohio State when they couldn't get any pressure on the quarterback with the front four. And so is that kind of what you need to see from them?
I trust those teams even without knowing who their quarterbacks are, because I've already seen it. They've done it year in and year out. Like, it's like, man, this guy's new. Georgia, like, there's going to be a lot of new pieces. I know they're going to be good. Like, Kirby Smart has recruited at an elite level for a long time now. They develop players at an elite level. Like, did they have a down year for Georgia standards? Absolutely. Like, they had a down year. But I also know that they have a ton of talented guys that are going to step right in. They had 12 guys drafted or something like that. Like, there's another 12 that are going to be drafted. Like, I mean, it's to that point. Notre Dame is building to that point. Marcus Freeman has now put the world on notice. Like, this ain't this cute little leprechaun team no more. It's not the cute touchdown Jesus anymore. Like, we're going to punch you right between the face. We're going to recruit at a high level. Like, I'm going to be aggressive. That's my style of who I am, what I am. Special teams a year ago, you could also argue, wasn't great. Like, get better on special teams. The squad will be better, especially field goal kicking. And then making a statement like this isn't a flash in the pan. Like, we're here to stay. And that's what Irish fans want. And Irish fans are one of the best in the country. And they just want that competitiveness year after year. They want to be one of the big boys. Like, they want to be that, and they've had so much success in the past, and they want it to be the present year after year.
Well, Trevor's brought this up this summer multiple times. Is look, they had the 2012 season, great, 12-0, and then the next year you go 9-4. You have the 2015 season, you follow that up with 4-6. You know, you have the 2018 playoff team, and then the next year you go 1-2 against ranked teams. Your only ranked win is Navy. You know, they haven't been able to follow up the big years with another year, and that's the reason I wanted to ask you that question, is because we as Notre Dame people, we know this guy, we can feel how we want to feel, but nationally, there's still that, okay, we know you can have the occasional good season, but can you string it up? And like Texas, for example, like, I think Texas still has a lot to prove, but it's in regard to, can they win a championship? They're back-to-back Final Four teams. They've been able to stack those two teams in a row. I would love to cover a program where your down year is when you win the SEC championship and lose in the quarterfinals. That's the year where everybody's like, what happened to Georgia? and that's where you got to get to. And I think that's why this season is so important for Notre Dame, because you have to be able to show, hey, we're not like we were, where we have the occasional 0-2 season or 0-5 season, and then it's not followed up by something comparable. You got to show that, no, we're here and we're here to stay, because not only does that send a statement in college football and earn respect, but the biggest people that earns respect with is recruits who can say, okay, yeah, I know that I'm going to be able to continue to do that under Marcus Freeman. And I mean, you went through this as a player yourself.
Yeah, you want to see that sustained success. You want to compete for championships. And it's just, it's so crazy to think about, like Brian Kelly leaving LSU or leaving Notre Dame and going to LSU because he didn't think he could get those kids at Notre Dame. And now the best running back in the country, like one of the most explosive playmakers in the country is at Notre Dame. And it's just like, you can, but you need that guy. And I think Marcus Freeman being that guy, the no nonsense, I promise you dudes, like he walks into every household in America and he can talk to any family. Like he can talk to anybody. Like sit there, have an honest conversation, show his personality, and who he is enough to be great. Like who he is enough to get elite level recruits. And, having the youth on his side, like just being able to relate to the kids a little bit more, the defensive mindset, the aggressiveness, like he's kind of showing you, man, he's just taking those steps. And I don't know how much outside of like Ryan Day, can't win a big one, can't win a big one, can't win a big one. He won the big one. Like Dan Lanning is very much on that list for the next young coach that can he win a big one. Marcus Freeman, like have another year, again, another great season. Can he win the big one? Like, is he that next young gun? But I think everything's pointing in the right direction, and there's just reason to be optimistic about year after year, sustained success, and that's what Notre Dame fans want.
I mean, that's you look at Notre Dame's recruiting right now. You're going down to Texas and getting Leonard Moore. You're going to St. Louis and getting a Jeremiah Love. Their current class, which is a top 5 class, you beat Georgia for a 5-star kid out of North Carolina. You beat Alabama for a D tackle out of Florida. You've got to be able to have those battles. You can't always rely on, well, we think this 3-star guy is going to become there will be those guys. Tyler Eifert was that guy. But you can't make a living on the Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. You also need to add more Jalen Smiths and guys that are that high level player, because it's just the margin for error on and this is why I always said stars don't matter in regard to, they don't define you. You don't put a star on a guy and that tells you who is he going to be. But if you're going to bring in a bunch of 3-stars, some of them will pan out, but a lot of them will be what 3-stars are. It's about the high level talent. You've got to find it in all levels. And that's where I think Notre Dame is different now, because and my final question for you is this, David, is like when you were there, I mean, you were watching Notre Dame in Georgia. When I watched Notre Dame in the past against Georgia, they could in 17 and 19, Notre Dame could go at Georgia in the trenches. They couldn't beat them on the perimeter. They just couldn't make plays on the perimeter. That's why they lost 2 close games. This year, they did. They could run with Georgia at linebacker. They could run with Georgia, on the perimeter defensively, not offensively, but defensively. And I think that's something that makes this team a little bit different, in my opinion. And now you just got, like you said, you got to sustain it.
Well, I think it was like 26 or 24 of the first 32 picks in the draft last year were from the SEC and the Big Ten. Like, that's a big number. Like, that's a really, really big number. So year after year, the talent is there. Like, the talent is abundant. Like, that's not a made up thing, right? Like, they have that consistently. So I think that's what you're trying to compete with. Like, can I be in that realm? 5 stars and 4 stars. They were 5-star or a 4-star. Like, that's the numbers. Like 20 something out of 32 first round picks were 4 or 5 stars out of high school. Like, it's not rocket science. Better players. I'm a really good coach, guys. Like, I'm a much better coach when I have a better athlete that can pick up things faster, do things better at a higher level. Like, and so there is no team in the country that is constantly at the top that doesn't recruit nationally at a high level. And that's why we're putting Texas in there, because since NIL, Texas is shot through the roof, right? Like, that's why Bama's been in there every single year. That's why Georgia's been in there every year. That's why Ohio State's in there every year. Like, go look at the recruiting. They own the recruiting. That's why Clemson was there for so long. Own the recruiting. Fell back a little bit. Like, Clemson's in a state now with that. Like, can you show me the receivers that you used to have? And this year they got them. Like, Absolutely got them. Chris, they've also got the D linemen again that they used to have.
Yeah.
They've got NFL talent. Not surprising, guys. They've got 4- and 5-star draft picks that are now, or high school guys that are going to be draft picks. And that's, you don't have to live on the 4 and the 5 stars, but you have to compete with them. You have to grab a bunch of them every single year. And then how you coach and what your culture is and how you develop will define the rest of it. But if you can't get those guys, you're bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah, I mean, it's about that high level talent. Can you run? Can you compete size wise, physicality wise, and can you run with the best teams? I think that ultimately is what it comes down to. David, I really appreciate your time. Before we get you out of here, do me a favor, if you could, let people know where they can find you. Obviously, your C-Ball Get Ball podcast is now on the Believe Network, but I know you also do another podcast, which I'd love for you to be able to talk about also, because one thing that I respect about you is you're someone who's open about your faith, which is something that we appreciate here and something that we like to be on our show. We have people asking for prayer and different things like that in our show. So I would like for you to be able, if you don't mind, pointing people to where they can get your other podcasts as well that they can watch, which is, I don't believe is at sports related specifically. No. It's more about life and things like that. So why don't you let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, it's called Family Goals. That one's called Family Goals. It's with my pastor. It's literally like me and him were talking about, like, we should help everybody with their family goals and just set goals and set boundaries, especially like in sports and the world of travel ball and stuff. And we ended up, all right, let's do a podcast. And so we ended up doing a podcast. We never thought anybody would listen. And sure enough, it actually, a couple people listened besides my mom. So Family Goals with my pastor, like teach you how to outline, goals in your household. We're really, we're strong believers that believe in God and are pursuing and sharing our faults and the things we mess up. And then C-Ball Get Ball, man, like just because of my wife, my wife has brain cancer and she's fighting and battling. And so right now, like I'm not traveling and I'm not going to travel. And so I love this sport, man. Like I love college football. There's nothing better, and to be able to talk it and watch it, like and listen, I love sitting on the couch all day on a Saturday. My wife can't say anything. This is my job, babe. All like you can't yell at me. Like I gotta eat.
Isn't that beautiful?
Just sit here. It's so gorgeous. Like
I come home with the app on, and I'm like, sorry, babe. It's for work. I have to, I have to get it. And I gotta watch
what you want me to
football.
do, baby doll?
Yeah, so exactly.
Yeah, that is so much fun. And the name is not surprising if you know me. Like C-Ball Get Ball, dumb defensive player, like snap the ball, I move, I tackle guy with ball. Like just it made a lot of sense to call it C-Ball Get Ball. So appreciate you talking about those though.
And we will certainly be praying for your wife and also for you as you all go through this as a family. And I know the IB community is already putting that in the chat that they're going to be keeping you on in our prayers as well. So David, appreciate that. Welcome to the Believe Network. Thank you so much for joining our show, and we'll see how the season goes. Maybe at the end of the year we'll see how things go at Notre Dame. Get you back and talk a little bit more about what you see from this team, and we'll have the answer if Marcus Freeman can kind of keep it running. Is this the new normal for Notre Dame, or is this just another one of those occasionally really good years with a gritty team, or is this just who they are? So we appreciate
the new normal, baby. Get used to it, baby. It's going to be fun.
It's good for business, and we're both Notre Dame fans, so it's going to be fun for us too. We think so, but we're also both. You got to show me now, guys, right? Like we feel good about it, but now it's time to show me. Got to show me.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, Brian, Trevor, see you guys.
Thanks, David. Take care. Well, Trev, that was it. That was David Pollack talking Notre Dame football. I wanted to bring him on because I remember listening to him back when he was with ESPN, and you'd hear his comments where he was very critical of Notre Dame, and I think a lot of times for good reason. And so to hear him now talk about them very differently, it wasn't to say, hey, let's call them out. How have you now? You used to be wrong about Notre Dame. Now you're right. Let's talk about it. But just let's talk about someone who's not a Notre Dame person, who is an SEC type of person, and to see how they view Notre Dame. And when you start to hear some of the things from him and Greg McElroy, for example, someone else who's very high on Notre Dame, you start to say, okay, like people are starting to see what we see. Like we're not the only ones, because if it's like we're just a bunch of Notre Dame fans talking about how much we love Notre Dame, but everybody else is like, guys, I've seen them in person and I've seen this team in person. It ain't the same. So I'm glad he came on, and I'm glad he's part of the Believe Network. And as we said, you guys can find his C-Ball Get Ball podcast. I put a link to that in the chat just above. And then also I put a link to his Family Goals podcast. Also, as he talked about, guys, we always have people in our show that are asking for prayer and different things like that. If you guys could keep David and his wife in your prayers. And my wife's going to have surgery soon, and you start thinking about, like, I'm stressed about that and those type of things. But his wife, Lindsay's battling brain cancer. I mean, it's quite a different thing. And so if you guys could keep her in your prayers and keep David in his prayers, because it's tough for her, but also you got to be that strong rock for your family at home and for him and his wife and his kids. And he's also coaching football this year. He's coaching at his son's high school team. So he can now talk about coaching. So good stuff. But Trev, just overall thoughts on that segment with David before we move on to our Big Ten conversation?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was good to hear the outside perspective. It's really easy for us to sit here and talk about, well, the national media this and the national media that thinks this of Notre Dame. And it was good to get a level-headed person in here that can break down and analyze a bunch of different teams. And I know some people just think David Pollack is a Georgia alum. He's a big SEC guy. Sure. Spent a lot of time talking about Ohio State and the talent that they have on the perimeter. You know, he can take a look at what Notre Dame has on their roster, acknowledge what they have, but then also discuss some of the gaps that we said. We're high on Notre Dame's receiving core, maybe a little bit more than some, but the questions are still there. We can point to, well, he did this at this school at this year against these opponents, and he did this in that bowl game against this school while he was at this school. But until they put it all together, and those are valid points, which I appreciated. So it was cool to get him on, and then obviously from a fan standpoint, like it was cool to be able to sit down and talk to him as well.
Well, I just like people that talk ball, right or wrong. As I've said, I don't agree with everything David Pollack says, and I'm quite confident if he listened to our show all the time, he wouldn't agree with everything that I say. I just like people that are willing to talk ball. And your opinions are about ball and what you see. And if I have an opinion about a team 3 years ago and now I see something different, I'm going to change my opinion, not just continue what our issue is. I don't have a problem with not everybody being bought into Notre Dame this year. But don't give me the tired, lazy takes as to why. Like his takes were what? They got to show that they can reload, something they haven't proven they can do. And I don't know what's going to happen to quarterback. I haven't seen Notre Dame lose a CJ Stroud and go out and still score a lot of points. Or I should say lose Dwayne Haskins, and the next year you just replace him with Justin Fields, and then you lose Justin Fields and you replace him with CJ Stroud. I mean, those teams have established that. Notre Dame hasn't proven that they can do that. I think those are fair concerns and fair criticisms. Yeah. And so that's why I wanted to get him on the show, to give a different perspective from an outsider who has lived in a world as a player and as an analyst where Notre Dame doesn't reload every year, as you've pointed out all summer, Trevor, which is last year was great. And we think this team is going to be really good again, but they got to prove to the rest of college football that they are that team. And that's what I'm really looking forward to for this season. So very excited to have David as part of the Believe Network, and he's going to be having his own FanDuel comments here coming up, but that was really good stuff. So that's going to do it for this portion of the show. We're going to talk Big Ten football next here with Trevor. But before we do, folks, do us a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button on our channel. Make sure that you have the notifications on. So obviously today we went at a different time because we wanted to work around David's schedule. We thought about going at 1 and then having him jump in the middle. I just thought it'd be better to start the show with him, and then we can just talk Big Ten football the rest of the show. So that was fun. I thought he was every bit as good as I thought he was going to be. Make sure you also subscribe to David's podcast, See Ball, Get Ball. And if you want to hear him talk about just life and faith and things like that, you can also subscribe to his Family Goals podcast with Pastor Jay. So you can check that out. But as always, make sure that you are subscribed to what we have going on here at the Irish Breakdown Podcast.